Today I'm going to talk about the complete Psionics Handbook. Now, Psionics was part of first edition, but it was kind of complicated, and so a lot of DMs didn't want to handle it. But there was a psionic using class in the Dragon, which I liked a lot better than this, but a lot of people didn't have that issue with the Dragon. And when second edition came out, Psionics was removed. But then later they added it back in with this book. So let's take a look at it. So first of all, it has some really great color art in it. It's also got some black and white art. Like this. Here's an example of somebody using Animate Shadow, one of the powers in it. So this book delineates a psionic using class. And so the main attributes for this class are Constitution, Intelligence, and Wisdom, with the prime requisites being Constitution and Wisdom. And it's allowed to basically all the races. So it's one of the things I liked about the Dragon version of Psionics was that not just humans, but also the dwarves and halflings could be psionic. Basically, the creatures who couldn't use magic could use psionics. And in this one, dwarves and halflings can be multi-class fighter psionicis or thief psionicis. But later it was opened up to other classes. And there's level limits for psionicis depending what race you are. And here's a experience chart for the psionicis class. Now, the benefits of being a psionicis, the powers are divided into 6 disciplines. These are like schools of magic or priest spheres. And then the powers themselves, there are 2 different levels of powers. There's devotions, which are the low-level powers, and sciences, which is the high-level powers. And defense modes are a particular kind of telepathic power, and even if you don't have any other telepathic powers, you get use of the defense modes. There are 5 of them, and you get one when you start out. Eventually, you learn all 5, just like eventually you learn all the disciplines. Okay, so you start off with, instead of doing 1 spell a day, like you would if you're a magic user, you start off with a certain number of power points based on your ability scores. And you could regain these power points depending on what you were doing. If you were doing hard exertion like fighting, running, climbing a rope, exploring a dungeon, you can't recover points. But if you're resting a little bit, if you're like walking or riding, you can gain 3 an hour. If you're sitting, resting, or reading, you can gain 6 an hour. And if you're meditating or sleeping, you can do 12 an hour. So, and here's the roll to hit for a psionicis is about the equivalent of a thief, and they have their own saving throw table. And they have a pretty good selection of weapons available to them. It's not all the huge damage weapons, but it's still a pretty good choice here. And they have, starting off with 2 weapon proficiencies and 3 non-weapon proficiencies. There's great art of somebody doing animate object. And they have their own non-weapon proficiency list. So they can use the general list that everybody can use, plus the psionic list, which most of them are allowed to other classes. It's on their lists, but a few aren't. Specifically hypnosis, meditative focus, and rejuvenation. Rejuvenation basically allows you to meditate instead of sleep while recovering psionic hit points. Now, in first edition, there was a chance that you might have psionic powers, and it was a very small chance. And this is, in second edition, is called Wild Talents. And again, it's a really small percentage, 1% plus these, And if you wait until you're high level, your chances are improved. But if you're a mage, cleric, or non-human, then your chances are halved of having psionic powers. And you don't get a bunch of powers like you did in first edition. You get one power, and it's randomly determined. Okay. Here's a couple of psionists fighting. Good artwork in this book. And in the old version, psionic combat would take place with 10 rounds of psionic combat for 1 round of physical combat. Now it's slowed down to normal combat rate, which means the psionic monster doesn't kill the psionicist before the other players can do anything. This is what happened in first edition. Okay, so let's go into some of the powers. Now, the way the powers worked is, in order to act, you didn't get a saving throw against most of them. In order to activate them, the psionicist had to roll a d20 less than one of their attributes plus a modifier. In the case of this one, they had to roll less than 5 less than their wisdom. So if their wisdom is 15, they had to roll a 10 or less in order to activate this power. And you had to use a certain number of psionic strength points to activate the power. And if it's possible to maintain the power for more than 1 round, you had to use more points for every round you keep it going. The powers had a range. Some powers had a preparation time that it took to activate the power. They had different areas of effect, and some of them you had to have some other power before you gained this power. And they're all listed with the sciences. That's the high-powered powers first, and the devotions, the lower-powered powers, next. So the first discipline is clairsentience. This is things like divination. So aura sight is one. That's sort of like mage sight. There's clairaudience, clairvoyance, object reading. Precognition is kind of hard to DM, because if you find out something's going to happen, then you got to make it happen. Sensitivity to psychic impressions. And the devotions, the lesser powered ones, are things like all-around vision, danger sense, combat mind, feel light, hear light, feel sound, know direction. Here's somebody doing object reading. Know location, poison sense, radial navigation allows you to tag a point and you can find your way back to there as long as you get the power active. See sound, sense spirit. Now the next discipline is psychokinesis, which is telekinesis and things similar that allow you to affect the atoms of things outside yourself. So there are powers like create object, and this one is detonate. You can't maintain this one. It's just an instant. You spend 18 points and some non-living thing explodes like a skeleton. Disintegrate, pretty close to the magic user one. Molecular agitation allows you to set things on fire. Project force is like a psionic punch. Telekinesis. And then the lesser powered ones are things like animate object, animate shadow. Ballistic attack is like a psionic powered imitation sling. Control flames. Control light. Control wind. Control sound. You can create sound with this power. Inertial barrier is like a low-powered force field, and levitation. And there's molecular agitation, allows you to set things on fire. Molecular manipulation. And here's a couple of psionic creatures fighting each other. Now, and so if you look, see, create sound is intelligence -7 to activate it. Inertial barrier is constitution -3. Now, the next set of powers are the psychometabolism powers. These are powers that affect the atoms of your own body mostly, though at least one of them can be used on other people's bodies. And here's an example, chameleon, which is a low-powered invisibility, which I'm sure this picture would be more impressive if it were in color. Some of the others are like animal infinity, which is a partial shape change. You can change part of your body into some other animal. Complete healing. You have to prepare for 24 hours and then you heal all your hit points back. That's a useless power unless you're high level and have a lot of hit points to heal. Death Field causes damage. You notice that most of these require Constitution to activate. Energy containment, life draining. Metamorphosis is a more powered shape-shifting shadow form, turns you into a shadow. And the devotions are things like absorb disease. Here's Animal Infinity. He's got the arms of a tiger, see? Adrenaline control. Aging, you can age people. Body control. You can make yourself so you can breathe underwater, things like that. Body equilibrium allows you to walk on water. There's an example of expansion. He's making his arm longer so he can steal that sword. Body weaponry turns your hand into a weapon. Catfall allows you to take less damage from falling. Cell adjustment allows you to heal yourself and heal others. Chameleon power, I showed you the picture of that. That's the low-powered invisibility. Chemical stimulation. Displacement, like a displacer beast. You appear to be elsewhere from where you are. Double pain causes people pain. Enhanced strength makes you stronger. Flesh armor improves your armor class. Heightened senses. Immovability makes it hard for you to be moved. Lend health allows you to give your hit points to somebody else. Share strength allows you to give your strength points to somebody else. And suspend animation. So the next group of powers is called psychoportation. This is things like teleportation, or as in this picture, dimension door. And some DMs have complained that this discipline and all of its powers break their game. If the players, it's too easy to teleport that magic users have to be pretty high level to teleport, but psionics can do it from the beginning if they pick this as their first discipline. So the powers like banishment, send somebody away. Probability travel allows you to travel to other planes. Summon planar creature allows you to summon a demon. Notice that, except demons aren't in this game. Notice you have to know teleport before you can summon creatures. Teleport. That's the main one you have to know before any of these other powers. Teleport other. Got to know teleport before you can teleport others. And the devotions, the less powerful ones, include things like astral projection, dimension door, dimension walk allows you to travel distances. Dream travel allows you, and you can take your friends along, and to travel while you're sleeping. That's a pretty cool power. Time shift allows you to jump a couple of rounds into the future. Teleport trigger makes a teleport activate when a pre-programmed event happens. That's a useful thing. And time and space anchor prevents other people from teleporting you. So the next devotion, or next discipline, is telepathy. And that name is pretty self-explanatory. These are all powers that affect the mind. And for most of these, wisdom is the power that's needed to activate them. And this is the one where the most errors came into the thing. There was a article in the Dragon that explained where these errors are, what you had to add, like the title of Fate Link is not in the book. I had to write it in. So, the powers, the sciences, the major powers, Domination allows you to control people. Ejection allows you to throw people out of your mind. Fate link connects you together. Mass domination, that's harder to do than domination, but you can do it on a bunch of people. Mind link is a very important power. This allows you to communicate with your friends, two-way communication telepathically, but the people you communicate with can only send thoughts that they want to send. So if I were a telepath, I'd try to make this power permanent on all the members of my party so we can communicate. Mind wipe erases memories. Probe is a higher powered version of ESP. It allows you to read minds, read thoughts that people don't want you to know. And there are a bunch of telepathic powers that allow you to attack people. And there are also all the defense modes against those attacks are here in the telepathic section, even though you don't have to have the telepathy powers in order to use those. Superior invisibility is like the Fidelius charm in Harry Potter, only it affects a person. They're completely invisible, they can't even be perceived. Switch personality allows you to switch bodies with somebody. And then the lesser power ones, like attraction or aversion, make people go away from you or come toward you. Awe makes you scary. Conceal thoughts protects you from ESP, things like that. And contact is the most important telepathic power. You have to activate this in order to use telepathy on somebody else. And if they're psionic, you got to batter down their defenses before you can establish that. So that's an important thing. Here's probe being used to scan the lizard man's mind. Let's see. Empathy allows you to sense emotions. ESP allows you to sense surface thoughts. Probe is the more powerful version. The book said mind link was required, but it was not. That was correct in the dragon. Let's see what else. Inflict pain. Allows you to cause them pain. Invisibility. That's a lesser powered version. There's a higher powered one. This is the lesser powered one. This is more like the magic invisibility. Life detection allows you to detect the presence of life. Let's see, what else? Let's see what we got here. Send thoughts is a one-way communication and allows the telepath to send his thoughts, but they can't answer. Mind link is the superior version where they can answer you. But it costs less power to use this one than it does the other ones, which is why you might do it. Sight link allows you to see what somebody else is seeing. Sound link allows you to hear what they're hearing. Taste link allows you to taste what they're tasting. Telepathic projection allows you to send emotions. Let's see what else is there. Truth Eater allows you to detect lies. And then we come to the last discipline, which cannot be your first one. This is a discipline that allows you to modify other psionic powers, including Empower, which allows you to create psionic magic items, and Psychic Surgery, which allows you to fix things that telepaths have done to people. It also allows you to turn somebody psionic who isn't already. Ultra Blast is a really powerful psionic power, but to activate, you got to get Wisdom -10. So if your Wisdom is 18, you need at least an 8 to activate this power, and you got to be at least 10th level to have this power, and it takes away psionics from the people you use it on. Cannibalize allows you to take your hit points and turn them into psionic strength points. Convergence is a super useful power if you have more than one psionicist. They can use this power and know all the powers that the other one knows. And a group of people can do this. So, here's an example of somebody using Empower to make a psionic sword there. Let's see what else. Psionic inflation makes it more expensive to use psionic powers. So the bad psionicist might use this to make it harder for the player characters to use the psionic powers. Psionic Sense allows you to sense psionics. Receptacle allows you to turn a gemstone into like a battery of psionic strength points. So you can store points in the gem, and then later, while you're adventuring, you can draw them from that when you run out of points. Splice allows you to connect 2 or more psionic powers together. And Wrench is a super useful one that is good for like level draining undead, which are connected to more than one plane. They're connected to the negative material plane. So you use this power on them, and you can either force them completely into the negative material plane, which is like turning, or you can pull them completely into the material plane, which weakens them considerably and takes away their level draining power. So if I had a group of psionicists, I would have one of them take telepathy, and all of them would take this metapsionics as their second discipline, so they could use convergence and have the telepath make contact using psychic surgery permanent on all of them and mind link permanent on all of them. And anybody else who was not psionic could use psychic surgery to make the other people in the party psionic. So there's some pages about psionics in the campaign, and it goes into how you don't actually have to have this, and several of the campaign worlds for second edition had no psionics allowed, but a few of them, like Dark Sun, you had to have psionics in order to run that game world. And it goes into some examples of fiction that use psionics. And there's some monsters, which some of these monsters were in the first edition monster manual, but they were not in the second edition monsters compendium. So here they are. This one is a new one, the Vagabond. And the monsters that were in the Monsters Compendium without psionics, like the Mind Flayer, now it tells you how to add psionics back into them. They took them out and they add them back in. And there's a summary of the psionic powers here in the back, followed by an index of psionic powers. So there you have it, the complete Psionics Handbook. It's not required to run second edition. Lots of the campaign worlds don't allow it, but some of them do require it. So I would say this is a must-have if you're going to allow psionics in your second edition campaign.